Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for writing in with your question. You stated that your younger sister has a habit of masturbation and that she's 17 years old and has been doing it every night since she was 10. The urge to masturbate is very normal. It's just a sign that she, is a developed young woman. With puberty comes a lot of changes, both physically, emotionally, and mentally. As you probably know, that a lot of hormones change during puberty and the sexual urges are normal. Regarding the masturbation, while in most societies it's considered a normal and acceptable way to relieve sexual tension as opposed to having sex before marriage, in Islam it is discouraged. Based on what you've written about her doing it every single night since she was 10, and that she has kind of low self-esteem and she feels like she can't get to sleep unless she masturbates. She may be addicted to it. And addiction to masturbation in itself is not a good thing. I would, kindly suggest that you talk to her about different ways of relieving stress and redirecting her sexual energy. This can be through, getting engaged in a hobby. At night when she goes to bed, you may want to suggest to her that she do zikr. This will get her mind off of it, and as well as the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be a blessing to her. You might want to stress to her the importance of, keeping herself in line as far as her urges and trying to control her urges. You may want to suggest also that she may want to start thinking about either focusing on school, a university or college, or working, and put her energies into preparing for that. I'm not really sure what grade she is because I'm not sure what country that you're writing from. However, at 17, in a few years, inshallah, she should be ready for marriage. Usually chronic sexual desire and, masturbation is indicative of the need for marriage. At 17, I wouldn't recommend it, but in a few years, you could tell her that in a few years, she'll be able to enjoy all the sexual pleasures that she desires with her husband. You might want to approach this subject with her in a nonchalant way, because you want her to keep opening up to you and talking to you about how she feels and her progress in trying to stop. So I wouldn't come at her in a punitive measure. I would be, give gentle reminders about what Allah says concerning keeping our bodies chaste and refraining from, habits that can be addicting and lead to long-term negative consequences. You may want to explain to her that, if she can't, has to do it every single night and can't stop, and if she continues to, that it might make her unable to, sexually function with her husband when she does get married. She may need to masturbate to find pleasure rather than find pleasure in her husband. And that's one of the downsides of, chronic masturbation. And it goes along with pornography and all that. And that's more or less seen in men or boys. So I would just talk with her and tell her that you love her and that you understand what she's going through. And just kind of tell her, that she needs to replace the masturbation at nighttime with another activity. She might want to make a list of things that, she can do before she goes to bed, such as, reading or listening to a documentary or something that diverts the mind away from the feelings that she's going through. You might also want to suggest to her that when she feels like masturbating, that she sees a great big huge red stop sign in her mind, and ask her to consciously try to think to do something else. This may take about 30 days in order for her to leave the habit. Researchers have shown that habits are broken, usually, inshallah, within 30 days if the person's really trying to break the habit and is replacing what the bad habit is with something else. So again, maybe together you and her can make a list of things she can do, to curb these feelings. Now, regarding your feelings that she's obsessed with the opposite sex and thinks all of her classmates, her boys, like her, and that she wants to have a boyfriend, kind of go along with the masturbation. She's attracted to boys. She wants to be liked. And she wishes to have a boyfriend, which, of course, in Islam, we don't have boyfriends. So you might want to speak to her about that, about, the virtue of preserving herself and following Islam rather than stepping outside of the boundaries of our religion. And all of this is, again, normal for her age. It's just, signs that, she's growing up. She's a young woman now, and she's attracted to the opposite sex, and that's normal. However, her behaviors, you might want to talk with her about. It doesn't seem like she's dating or she's trying to or she's doing anything haram at this point with boys, which is good, alhamdulillah. However, you just might want to speak to her about, focusing on, again, school and maybe exercise or taking up a hobby. And just assure her that in a few years, when she is ready for marriage, that all of these things that, she's avoiding right now, which are haram, will be a blessing to her and her future husband. As far as her self-esteem, a lot of young girls do go through feelings of low self-esteem. It could be they feel overweight, they feel underweight, they feel too tall or too short. What you may want to do is talk to her about her positive qualities. Maybe it's her smile, maybe it's her kindness to others, maybe it's, her eyes or something else about her that's very attractive. You might want to make a list and present to her a list of her, positive qualities concerning not only just her beauty, but also the goodness that's within her heart and the kind person that she is. And tell her to focus on that, inshallah, rather than worrying about being, too short. I think everybody has things about them that they'd rather, not have or change. However, this is the way that Allah has created us, and we need to love ourselves as Allah's creations. So if you can maybe, inshallah, sister, build up her self-esteem a little bit by making a list of her positive qualities, both inwardly and outwardly, and, review it with her and talk to her about it and have her focus on those rather than the negative, you may see a positive change in her. Regarding talking to your parents, they really shouldn't get mad at her about this. Number one, it's, part of normal and healthy development in a person. There's nothing, that's new or, strange about what she's doing. The only part, of course, again, is the masturbation. And while she says she, is not doing it for sexual pleasure, that again leads to what we were discussing, that it's turned into a habit and she can't fall asleep without doing it. If your mom does ask, though, I wouldn't lie to her. We don't want to lie to our parents, but I would, sit down with her and speak with her about it if she does ask. And inshallah, ask her, how she felt when she was her age. How did she feel when she was, developing sexually and had feelings, and how did she handle it? And maybe your mom can give some really good points and tips that would be helpful rather than getting angry. Oftentimes when we remind our parents of, things we're going through when they were our age, they have to, think back, and they have like a aha moment, and it kind of reminds them of what it feels like and what, the person's going through, their child. So inshallah, sister, everything will work out. Really do, though, go through the steps with your sister of mentally blocking that urge to masturbate at night, as well as making a list of things that will divert her attention and focus her attention on other things at nighttime. And again, like I said, zikr is really helpful. Reading, possibly journaling at nighttime before she goes to sleep. praying to Allah for guidance and for help in extinguishing this bad habit. There's a lot of things that you can do. You can get creative. Also, stress reduction techniques may work. It sounds like she has a hard time falling asleep, possibly. A good stress reduction technique would be progressive muscle relaxation. And if you Google that online, you can find the instructions for that. It's very helpful in relaxing people and helping them to fall asleep at night. So you may want to also suggest to her to try that. So we wish you the best. You're both in our prayers, and I'm confident that this problem will be resolved with persistence and patience and love. Assalamu alaikum.